Ladies and gentlemen, imagine if a Vespa, a sculpture, and a racing mosquito had a wild night in a foundry. You'd wake up with a Rumi Formichino in your garage and an inexplicable desire to wear goggles indoors. This little chrome bullet from the 1950s isn't just a scooter, it's the two-wheeled equivalent of that neighbor who shows up uninvited, steals the show, and leaves everyone wondering, what the hell just happened? I'm Timmy, two-stroke romantic, and your host at Timmy Tiny Wheels, the only channel where even scooters have ego issues. So before we dive into this Italian speed nugget, do the smart thing. Subscribe to the channel faster than a Formicino off the line and smash that bell like it owes you money. The story of the fastest ant in town. It's 1954, and Italy's streets are bursting with post-war optimism, espresso fumes, and scooters shaped like loaves of bread. But along comes Donnino Rumi, an artist turned industrialist with the wild idea of turning a sculpture into something you can commute with. Donnino wasn't your average CEO. He wasn't interested in building just another scooter. The man sculpted his design like a Renaissance Michelangelo who discovered cast aluminium and caffeine. The result? The Rumi Formichino, meaning little ant, which, ironically, could outrun half the motorcycles of its day while looking like it was designed by a spaceship stylist with a crush on Art Deco. While Piaggio and Innocenti were busy stamping out Vespa and Lambretta like political flyers before an election, Rumi was handcrafting aluminium shells that looked like jet parts. His wingman on the project was engineer Pietro Vasena, who stuffed a 125 cubic centimeters, two-stroke parallel twin horizontally under the floorboard, probably while whispering, "Let's scare some Lambrettas today." Rumi didn't want mass market. He wanted elite. While everyone else was selling beige economy, Rumi offered shiny performance. And if you were lucky, a gold-painted version for winning the 24-hour Bol d'Or race in France. Yes, this scooter raced. And not only did it race, it won. Multiple times. Let's crack open this wasp-sized wonder. Underneath that sleek, smooth shell sat a two-cylinder, two-stroke, horizontally opposed engine with 124.68 cubic centimeters, which is just a fancy way of saying, I'm small, but I bite. Air-cooled, of course, like all the best Italian scooters and half the angry advice on Facebook. Power, about 6.5 horsepower at 6,000 revolutions per minute in the regular version and 8 horses in the sport trim, enough to make bigger bikes of the era nervous at traffic lights. The transmission was a 4-speed gearbox with a real clutch, none of that automatic tourist stuff. And the whole system sat low and central under the floor, making the Formicino as agile as a gossiping old lady in the produce aisle. The suspension? Front, twin transverse arms with springs. Rear, swing arm with rubber dampers. Sounds like a joke? It wasn't. This thing handled like a caffeinated cat. For wheels, the Normale model had 4.8 inches, rubber on both ends, and even included a full-size spare wheel. You know, just in case you felt like changing a tire mid-race while smoking a cigarette and criticizing someone else's carb settings. Brakes were simple. Drum brakes, 125 millimeters, diameter, 1 on each wheel. The wheelbase was a modest 1/1200 millimeters, 3 feet 11 inches, with a dry weight of about 100 kilograms, 220 pounds. The fuel tank held 7 liters, 1.85 gallons, which meant you could ride around all day on about a 2.5 liters per 100 kilometers, 94 miles per gallon fuel diet. And top speed? A glorious 75 kilometers per hour, 47 miles on the standard model, or 105 kilometers per hour, 65 miles per hour in sport trim. Not bad for a scooter that looks like it should be handing out cocktails at a pool party. Back in 1954, buying a Rumi Formichino set you back 138,000 Italian lire, about $226 at the time, which today translates to around $2,000 to $3,000. That was nearly double the price of a Vespa. So yeah, it was the premium espresso of scooters, while others were just vending machine sludge. But here's the twist. This scooter aged like Italian wine in a climate-controlled cellar. At Art Curial Paris in 2013, a pristine Formicino sold for a jaw-dropping $22,650. Other examples have sold in the $6,000 to $10,000 range, like a 1956 model fetching $9,350 in 2012 and another going for $9,060 in 2020. Try doing that with your old moped, Bob. I'll say this, the Rumi Formichino was a scooter with style guts and absolutely no patience for mediocrity. It raced. It won. It looked like art. It had 3 wheels if you counted the spare. And best of all, it was sculpted by a guy who knew the difference between a vehicle and a masterpiece. It wasn't the cheapest, it wasn't the most practical, but it was one of the few scooters in history that could outrun your uncle's 250 cubic centimeters, pride, and make it look easy. So here's to the little ant, the chrome critter that marched through history and bit the ankles of giants. So if you ever hear some couch expert say, back in my day, scooters were just toys for teenagers, show them a Rumi Formichino and watch their face melt like carb cleaner on a plastic tank. That's all for today on Timmy Tiny Wheels, where every scooter has a story and every lazy neighbor has an opinion we didn't ask for. Catch you on the next ride. And remember, subscribe before this channel becomes more exclusive than a golden Formichino. Peace out, folks.